I have here a real iOS app submitted to the App Store and installed on my phone. The app has Google and Apple sign-in, push notifications, real-time sync, an AI-powered OCR feature, full server-side backend, and carefully implemented security. It went into App Store review the same day that I started building it. And this isn't a demo, it's not a prototype that looks great on a screen recording and then dies the second you try to give it to someone. This is the production build on my phone in my hand. I built it entirely with Claude code using React Native, and so the same code base also gives me an Android version. And the hard part isn't really the coding anymore, it's that last mile, it's like that last 20% that the AI builder platforms refuse to talk about, by the way. That's where most AI built apps quietly go to die. So I'm taking you through my entire day, zero to the submission on the App Store, every step, everything that broke, all the way into review. I'm not gonna make you sit and wait through every keystroke that I made in this video because the step-by-step version of how I did this is available to you. The link is in the description where you can steal my prompts and you can learn about the system that I use to build apps fast. And that resource is totally free. This is what my day actually looked like. So this is Tabby. I built it to solve a problem that I have when you're at dinner and the waiter comes and refuses to split the bill. Now suddenly everyone at the table is studying the receipt for 20 minutes to try and figure out what they owe. Tabby simply uses AI to scan the receipt, and then everyone just taps what they had and the app just takes care of all the calculations. This is the same niche as Splitwise, and it's a niche with a lot of potential, by the way. So on the iPhone version, I can continue with Apple, with Google, I can continue with Google. Okay, and so the basic premise is that you would scan your receipt at the dinner table. I'll just allow the camera access, scan this receipt for the Dine Fine restaurant, and then the different items and the name of the restaurant just pops up on the screen just like that. So I will start the tab on the iPhone, and now what happens is that I can actually just join with a code if I was someone else at the table being the Android user. So I just tap the code in, and I can also use a QR as well, but I'll just do this one manually. So now I can join this table, then I'll start claiming with the iPhone, and so let's say the iPhone had the grilled salmon, the Android had the cheesecake, and so on. We shared a sparkling water. So you can actually do shares as well. And so we both shared Caesar salad and then sparkling water. And now I can lock in this tab as the iPhone user. iPhone user pays the tab. And then basically the Android user can send them a Venmo. And there's actually a notification as well, so that if they haven't paid in a while, maybe the next day, they'll get a notification and they'll be reminded to do it. And then it's also actually possible to put in your IBAN number so that you can share your bank details with other people at the table securely. So first I had a brainstorming session with Claude on the web. You can use the desktop version of Claude, of course, or even Claude Code in plan mode, but I really like to separate out the random thoughts from the actual implementation part, because you don't want your early bad ideas polluting the context in the AI. And at this stage, I also like to establish the app's name if I don't already have it, and this is a hassle to change later, so I like to do it now. So as you know, I will be calling my app Tabby. It doubles the idea of the restaurant tab, and then you can mix in some like Tabby cat artwork as the mascot. I'm actually going to use, for the UI UX, I'm going to use Claude Design. It's really very good, and it's tightly integrated in the Anthropic ecosystem as well. You can also use Google Stitch, which I use quite a lot as well, or you can use Figma or any other design tool or service that you like. And I'll use my brainstorming session to create a prompt for Claude Code, because that conversation has a huge amount of context already, and it's ready to be condensed and then used. Once I have the app concept, I also like to puzzle out the logo art at this stage. For example, with the help of ChatGPT and Canva, I came up with this logo design. Apple wants the home screen icon in the app to be 1024 by 1024 pixels. And so I can export that from Canva. And then I also need a splash screen as well, which has looser restrictions. Then it's a case of dropping those files into my code base in the assets/images folder, and now my logo art will be picked up by the build. It is really important when you're building an app for production to separate out your development environment from your production environment. For example, most tutorials will actually hand wave the Supabase setup. They'll tell you to just head over to supabase.com and make a project, and then they'll just smush those production credentials into your development process. That is suicide for a real production app. Because once you have users and you want to fix a bug or create a new feature, you will for sure break your live app. So instead, I'm actually going to spin up an instance of Supabase on my local machine right here, not in the cloud. And this way, when the AI writes database changes, it'll do so in a code file. It's called a migration. And whenever I want to push changes live, I simply send those migration files along with the rest of the code base up to the cloud, and everything updates in production at once. That way everything is safe, and I have a sandbox version of the app with the new features, totally isolated from my users, where Claude Code can just experiment freely. And also, if I have any issues, I can just roll it back before it goes anywhere near production. Right here, I have environment variable files, and locally, these contain credentials to my local Supabase machine. And in production, these will be production values, and they belong safely in the cloud. And I'll show you where all of that happens very soon. Now, you can actually install an app build on your phone, and as Claude Code changes the files on my machine, the phone will register these changes in real time. If you've heard of Expo Go, please note that that is not the same, and I personally consider using Expo Go to be a complete waste of time. With my development build, I can literally watch the app being built out without even plugging it into my laptop, but as well as that, I will have all of the native functionality, and this will work in this dev environment. So push notifications, Google sign-in, haptics, GPS, everything that I need. You do this using Expo application services, which is totally free to use, and all I need to do is log in here to the CLI tool, initialize my project, and then send my files up to get built on their servers. They have Apple machines perfectly configured and calibrated for my React Native app, and so after about 10 minutes, I had a QR code that led directly to an install button. And now I have my Tabby home screen icon on my phone, and when I open it, it'll search for my app files, and these files are still right here on my laptop. So I just run this simple command, npx expo start, and this connects the laptop with the phone. I had a full brainstorming run with Claude on the web earlier, so just as I did for my design system, I can now ask Claude to just generate me a detailed Claude code prompt based on the same conversation with all of that context. Best way to do that is to split the whole app into tasks, into phases, and Claude will execute each one and then let you test it before moving on. And this is where the app gets fully built out, and it's Claude Code's home turf, so it's surprisingly easy once you have a really solid foundation. But this step will burn most of the tokens, so be mindful of this. Google sign-in is an essential feature in most apps, and it's also a common thing for tutorials to just skip. It's not complicated, but it's also not at all obvious how it's done. I have a full guide on this, which I will flash up on the screen somewhere, but here's basically how it works. You need a Google Cloud Platform account, and I find Firebase is actually the best way to create one. And that's because I usually want Android push notifications at some point, and Firebase is the only way to get them. So I create the Firebase project, and now I automatically have a GCP project as well. And then I go to credentials, and I create something called an auth client ID. I need an auth client ID for the web so that Supabase can communicate with it. And I need one for iOS, and I'll also make one for Android a bit later as well. I grab these OAuth client IDs and I store them in my environment files, my .env files. I only actually need to do this for Google. It's a Google sign-in thing. Apple sign-in is actually relatively easy in comparison, and I will show you that one in a little bit. Now that Google sign-in is running on my development build, I can create an account. And note that the data in my development build is totally sandboxed. Anything that I do here does not go near production. I can actually open up localhost 54323, which is where Supabase sets up camp on my laptop. And I can see the account I just created under the authentication pane. Looks like Claude Code has also created some seed users for me, which will be helpful for testing. But note that these are, of course, not real users. This is all happening on my laptop. So now my app is running, and this is the point where I start to test and I start to tweak. This can take some time, and I need to see how far Claude Code has gotten with the AI integration as well, since that's really central to this app. I tried the AI receipt scanner, but I actually had some errors. So then I found I was actually just missing the API key. And in the end, I actually decided not to use the Anthropic API and just use OpenAI instead, because I've used that a little bit more, but you can use either. So I made a new API key on the OpenAI platform page, and I placed it into my .env file. And notice that I now have my Python API running as well, running locally, and it's processing the images and communicating with OpenAI in a totally secure server-side environment. And you have to have a server-side environment if you're going to be doing things like using API keys and secrets. And this is the perfect example of that. Do not place sensitive keys like OpenAI API keys in a mobile code base. That is bad. That is insecure. So on the right is my real device in my hand. On the left is the simulator. Both are talking to the same database. The simulator gets its own account, so I can sign up with that. And then I was able to sign in with Apple on the simulator so that I had two accounts interacting. At this point, it's time to set up the real production backend. So now I head over to supabase.com and create the project. And note how this step comes much later than you will have seen in other tutorials using Supabase. This is how we create an app that's actually stable and can be worked on after it's been released to real users. After creating the project, I'm going to grab the URL and the API keys for it. And I'm actually also going to grab the connection string. And the reason for the connection string is to set up a configuration called a continuous integration and continuous deployment, or CI/CD pipeline. And I'll set this up once, and then anytime I want to fix a bug or add a feature, it all just gets checked and deployed by magic. This creates a much more stable app, and it's what real software engineering teams must do. For that, I need to create the repository on GitHub, which is where my code is going to safely live anyway, and then I will start making the pipeline. Basically, at a high level, I need to create some secret authentication variables so that, for one thing, Supabase can trust the pipeline and let GitHub update it, and also so that Google Cloud Platform, where my API is going to be running, also trusts GitHub to do the right thing when I tell Claude Code to just go ahead and deploy the backend. The first deployment failed. I had a small problem in the code, so I just gave the error to Claude Code and it sorted it out. And then Claude Code cut a new release. And so it's set up so that creating a release, like now it's version 0.1.1, will deploy the database schema and the Python API at the same time. The second time it succeeded, and so now my API is online and my Supabase is ready with the new schema. So now it's time to build the app for production, which is actually very simple, and there's a really helpful command that I use. Could not be simpler. Send the app to test flight. I type npx test flight. And that's it. It's an absolutely magic command because it will set provisioning profiles, distribution certificates, push keys, API keys, or App Store Connect, and it'll create the app listing on my Apple developer account. And it'll build the app, and then it will load it into test flight. 10 minutes after running this one command, and I had an email from test flight, and then I was able to load up the real production version of my app. App Store submission isn't difficult, but it can be tedious. And so I have a full guide taking you through every step of the submission process. I will link this on the screen and in the description as well. Once I have all these fields filled out, it's a simple matter of hitting submit for review, and then the process is complete, and I should have an answer in a couple of days. And so that's my whole day. Brainstorm to submitted, 1 working day, and the app you saw in my hand is the production build. And that last stretch is what most people aren't showing you. There are hundreds of videos that get you to, let's say, a working app on a simulator, but almost none of them will get you past that. The environments, the pipeline, the submission, what it takes to be production, stable, and secure. And that 20% decides whether you're gonna build an app or whether you're gonna build like a good screen recording. If you want the step-by-step version, my exact prompts, the system, all of it, it's free. Link is in the description, and the full submission walkthrough is there as well, so that one will take you through every field. Check out these videos for more about the process that I use to build real apps. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.